Thank you, councillors.
Very first one is a part A.
I just wanted to ask if we could delay that one. It's expecting to be joined by Deputy Chairperson Karen Potter. So if we could delay that one until she's here, I'd really appreciate it.
Is she far away?
I assume that she's close by.
Oh, sorry, well, I was probably lying. Yeah. I remember that last one. I could do actually Ferrymead first if you like.
Oh, yes, that
Yeah.
would.
No? It was the deputy there that forgot you, not me.
That's all right. I was sitting up there.
What item are you?
Page 99. Sorry. That's fine. So our first report has no part A, but I'd like to bring your attention on page 102. We have taken lead from Spray and Pepper and established a new fund. That's our Light Moments one, which is based on spray defects off the ground, which is an easy to apply for with a delegation to 2 board members to approve outside of meeting time, $250 to get projects and community events started to make it much easier for community groups to access that funding.
So, does one of those members have to be the chair? Or
It currently is, so it's been delegated to me and Joe Davis.
so it's too specific, not just any board members. You determine them, you predetermine those members.
They have been, yes, but if there is a conflict, then we're able to ask another board member.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we're really looking forward. We've heard good things about what's happened in Spray and Pepper over the last 2 years, and looking forward to getting that underway.
It's a good model, yeah. Phil?
Thanks, I think it's great that innovative ideas have been seeded from one board to the other and boards together. It's great. And also I wanted to say well done on the work, the work you're doing, received from the Canterbury University people on urban development and sustainability. It's great that your board are working with the university, the young university people to develop these ideas.
Yeah, well,
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to
Oh,
say.
yeah.
So that was what I was going to talk about too, Phil, but I was wondering if you could just expand a little bit on that 3.1. So you've got them in to give you some advice about the park.
Actually, unfortunately, I'm not able to. Paul may be able to, but both Leanne and I were away for that meeting.
Right.
And it was a deputation. So Paul, you have a clue? The deputation of the university students.
Oh, so
B402, Centre for Learning and Development. They're doing some work in the area on Limited Park. So we have a small working group locally on making Limited Park safer.
Yeah.
And these students had taken that up as a project.
so it's a placemaking project that they were working on, and
They were doing research on.
It's research that they've had a number of issues with young kids getting harassed in the park.
Yep.
So what they're doing is it's a student-based lead, so older students are actually sort of getting in there and actually working to try and actually minimise that impact. It's a really great model.
I think it's fantastic, but I'm wondering.
But it's led by the young kids.
Yeah. So I wonder if we could get a deputation to the Environment Commission.
Can I just suggest that actually Billy O'Steen at the university is leading all this. There's a massive program at Canterbury University of actual internships, so that students are actually doing real, I shouldn't say that, doing
projects that are
Real life
meaningful.
yes, that's what I meant, yes. But it's right throughout the university. So if there are projects that you want to work with the university on, they would be delighted to hear from you. So if you think about every faculty at the university actually doing real internships or placements or projects, that is an incredible resource. There's a couple that are doing with Richmond River as well, quite major ones, and they're doing them all throughout the city. So incredible resource, they would love to be asked.
So they've got the geography students are some of the key ones at this point, but there's also the Christchurch 101, which is often foreign students coming and having an experience of doing things in the community and looking at different ways of doing things, often based on the student volunteer army model, and seeing how that operates, and they're out doing projects in the community.
So they've done a Kids to Town one as well, with the little kids coming in.
Right.
Helping out Phillipstown at the new community hub, establishing a community garden there.
So through our community boards, we can actually progress these partnerships with the universities in a really good way.
They would love you to.
From the youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you the contact details.
Great.
Very good. All right, so Paul would like to move, and Yanni would like to second. I'll put the motion, and all those in favour say aye. All those opposed say no. That's carried. Now, the next one does have a party.
It does, and council will be aware that there have been some ongoing issues with over the Bromley area, and maybe had some correspondence to that effect. It's very clear from meetings at Living Earth with some of the councils who are able to make it that the odour issues are not purely confined to Living Earth, they're actually broader than that, and that there are times when the electronic nose, which council has paid for and installed on site, show wind direction in an opposite direction from the area where people are experiencing odour. And so we've got two requests. One is to meet with councillors and ECAN to look at the broader issues of odour in the area, because it's obviously quite strong at times, but also to make the publicly available the information from the nose live, so that residents in the area can check at the time when they're smelling odours to see what that is showing.
Yep. Paul?
It would also be useful to get some understanding of how the nose is calibrated and who calibrated it and what it's calibrated for, because there is some mistrust around that from the community. So I think as part of this wider research, we need to understand the system that in place, how it's put in place, and what it does to detect.
I think just being very open and transparent with the community over this is really important.
And it is an industrial area, which really understand that is going to have an impact, but there are more than one source of smells in the Bromley area.
And it is
we really good to get an understanding of what they are, where they are, and if ECAN needs to be looking and researching a little bit wider than just pointing the finger at Living Earth. Admittedly, though, there are obviously some issues there, but it's just what those issues are, how we manage them.
Yeah, I think I'll ask the Chief Executive just to respond to whether the odour data can be made live at the time. So.
I need to check that. First of all, we have had meetings with ECAN already around the broader issues, and we're looking to work identify where those are coming from. Excuse me. With regard to the odour nose, we have no problem with making it public. We just need to make sure there are no technical issues there in terms of actually getting it online or that.
I know that ECAN had access to it live, so
Yeah. Jamie?
I'm appreciating what Carlene's saying. On top of that, I would also just wonder too if we could look into legal considerations. I can't see other than being told any lawyers here, and we're not on our clock, so I won't take legal advice from you. But I wonder if it may be tricky in the sense that I just like to splash out whether or not you could know that a particular odour is definitely coming from this site, and then what the legal ramifications may be around the liability sort of type thing. If we're then publicly saying Living Earth is responsible for X, if that's not then true, where that leaves us. So I just want to hope that we could have that ironed out beforehand.
I think that the enforcement is with the ECAN, and whether it breaches or not, it's just really down to them. But I think that the idea of the electronic nose was to make this information available. So if we can make it available in a live stream sense, one of the senses, then we will. So Paul, Yay,
Just on that council aware that whilst it's in Hagley Ferrymead ward, it is a metropolitan facility. It actually handles waste from all over the city.
no, we'd like to leave it to the board.
We do deal with it.
thanks.
Yeah, Yanni?
Yeah. I think there's a few points that need to be made. The live data, I suggested that at the community board because it resulted from someone bringing up complaints about the odour. And then because of the time delay for someone to actually go out from the ECAN, then I just thought it would be really helpful if people would be able to look. So I rang ECAN and they went out there and said, later on, a few hours later, there's no issue. But at the time, it would be good to see what the notice actually said. When I asked ECAN for that information, they were unable to provide it. So it relies on living where we kind of provide information from it at the moment, which is something that we need to address. And I just thought it would be really useful to people when they're complaining to actually be able to look at it and see, so they could get a sense of it.
Well, the one time that I got an email about it, and I went straight out there, and I couldn't smell anything until I got to the fence.
Yeah. So I think that's the other issue is that
everywhere.
there's no doubt that there is an odour coming from the facility beyond the boundary. It's
There's also an odour coming from the estuary. You know, when the sea lettuce is exposed, it stinks. You know, I mean, it isn't the only thing that's producing smells from around.
I'm just saying the issue really for us from a legal point of view, in terms of region's consent, is, and I think it's a really good point that James raised, so I think when we have that meeting, we should be mindful of it. But it is really how these things are measured, because the reality is there is an odour that comes from this activity. It's really the question is how high is the test in terms of being offensive or objectionable, and how is that being applied. So both the points that Jamie and Paul have made, I think, are really valid. We do obviously have a contract with the company to run this facility for us, and they have to meet certain obligations in terms of consenting. So obviously understanding what that means if things are breaches and for them. But I think the other thing is that it's really important to me that ECAN, given the number of odour issues in this area, particularly also Gelita, which is another one where residents have been concerned about, and just to look at how we can get smarter in terms of enforcement times and responses. And when you look at the information we've had, the number of complaints versus the number of field visits, there's only a small number that get investigated. So we need to try and work for a better system.
Thank you. I think that if we could get the live data to the residents, I think it would only be a plus for them. I was really impressed with the way they were handling it. I mean, it is what it is. But if you look at the information that we were given, a lot of those times were when the wind was going a different way, and we really do need to really understand both the Bromley working area and the Woolston working area. They have been in the past heavy industrial areas. That has reduced to a degree, but there are a lot of factories and areas in there. The ones with the street cleanings was the one that was identified. So I think that if we can get that live, that would also help ECAN to get there perhaps a wee bit quicker, because with those delays, things can change. But we need to get a better understanding of both those industrial areas, because I don't believe that it is all living earth, and that's been proven by the wind, but we do need to get onto it.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. I mean, ECAN has been running live online data from our rivers, cameras, etc., whatever, for years. So I'm sure between us and them we can work this out and support the chair's view over transparency too. And that data, I think, will enable that. Probably makes life easier for everyone. So how quick we can do it within our resources, I'm not sure, but if we're able to nudge that out.
Can I please just suggest a couple of points that have come up?
Well, can I finish off, David?
Look, I agree with a lot of other speakers. I travel that road fairly frequently, and I've never ever smelled living earth in the degree that I would concede there is potentially a problem there. There are also a number of legalised dumping stations to the sewer system where industrial waste is legally dumped into the sewer. And I wonder, whether some of those are contributing as well. So I'm very supportive of actually looking across that whole area and just identifying not only known sources but potential sources of odour problems in the area. It's more than living earth, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, Carleen wants to say something.
I just support the comments that have made that even having this information available will only tell us about living earth. It won't tell us where the odour might come from if it's not coming from there. but it will tell you whether it is or not. The other piece of work around other potential sources of odour is actually really important as well. We need to figure out how to determine where it comes from.
So the board did hold a public meeting on the issue, on odours generally in the Bromley area, and we arranged for people to turn up, and they did identify in a survey form quite a range of different odours. Some was living earth and some was different. It showed that the community are quite capable of distinguishing between the different types of odours that they're smelling, including the seed eaters, living earth, gelita, and a range of other ones. Some smell organic and they're not quite sure where they're coming from. Some are other industrial ones. The other point I'd like to make is that while that specific area is zoned industrial, these odours, the complaints for these odours are coming from the residential area, not the industrial area. So it's not to do with reverse sensitivity and those kind of things. And the residents should be able to go about their daily lives, sitting outside, having a cup of tea, hanging out there washing, without having to re-wash their laundry or go inside and shower with them.
Right, okay. So would you like to move this, Yanni?
Yeah.
Seconded by Paul. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you very much. So, and Paul moves, Yanni seconds, the report of the whole, the adopted. Put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you very much. Good. So, well, why don't we just have a quick break for morning tea? We'll come back at 11:30 and then we'll break for lunch at say 1:15, and then we're going to come back to a kind of excluded session at 2 o'clock so that we can deal with one of the PX items on the agenda. So we'll reopen the meeting probably about 2:30. Yeah, straight right. Yeah, we'll do straight after the morning tea.